you're within the moment, the interference is coming up, and let's say you do get better at being aware of it, 6 seconds is, it's already gone and it's happened. Are there other practices how does one get outside of their self to be able to look back in? It's almost like an out of body experience that you're describing, or out of mind experience, where you being able to reflect on it, in 7 seconds or 8 seconds, and still pretty good, saying, wow, this is happening to me now. And obviously that takes practice, but is there a special kind of practice that, peak performers, elite performers, distinctive performers tend to do that sort of is conducive to, reducing interference?
I think it varies. So the short answer is yes, but it's not a universal answer. It varies between individuals. So some people will have little mantras when they can feel interference coming on, when they can feel themselves being triggered, when they, even before that, they are about to enter a situation that they know historically carries the risk of a triggering moment, an interference moment. Some people will have a mantra that they'll just silently go through in their head that prepares them for that moment, or that they will recite in their head in that moment. Some people have a touchstone, so they'll do something with a ring, or they'll put an elastic band, or have a bracelet that they wear already, and they do a particular maneuver with it. Humans are pattern recognition beings.
Yeah.
We are habits-based beings. So use that natural tendency and turn it into a helpful strength that you can have. So the mantra, the playing with the ring, the rubber band around the wrist, a particular picture as your wallpaper on your phone. If you are a notebook person, which I tend to be, I will have something written, or a picture, or a symbol that I draw in my notebook, and I just have that page open in front of me. No one else in the room even notices it. And if they did, they'd have no recognition, they'd have no clue. But to me, it triggers thought process, which helps me to intervene in the 6 second or just after the 6 second moment. So any of these rituals, as we would call them, any of these habits that are meaningless to other people, but carry great meaning for you, that help you in that moment, use them. Lean into the fact that we are pattern recognition beings, that we are creatures of habit, and create a habit, create a pattern that helps you in those moments. These are the kinds of things that are the self-sustaining, ongoing rituals and habits that I was referring to before.
No, I love that. I think a lot of people probably have their own habits, and I think what it's almost doing, it's almost taking you out of you in that moment, and so it's almost like a snap, like, as you said, just that sort of breaking that cycle in a way that's very subtle, it's very personal, it's a practice that builds over time, and almost sounds like the way you were describing it, it's like having a bit of a balcony moment, sort of looking outside in and sort of saying, hang on, this is something interesting is happening here that I know where this is going to lead to, which is going to be a big interference and is going to get in the way of me in this very moment performing. And so how can I get out of it? And so it's that experience that you're describing, and it only happens over time. So I think a lot of what you're saying is that it is a moment where pattern recognition plays a role, intent plays a role, but most importantly, it's self-awareness that comes with it, is where people who are, the more self-aware you become, the more introspective you are, the more likelihood of you knowing when these things happen and therefore being able to address them. And so it sort of starts right there at that point in time. And your environment and team and your leaders, if they can notice these things, when they can say, hey, look, when we go back to the previous episode, you mentioned, people who are quieter in the room, who have a lot of knowledge, who are not speaking up. I think perhaps it's that interference playing through again in their heads, right? Hey, you know what? Is this the right moment? Am I going to say something smart? What I'm about to say probably doesn't add that much value. And then soon enough, they're having this conversation while the room has moved on, and then it's too late. And they're like, oh, I had a great idea. Or you hear someone else say the same exact thing you were about to say, and you're like, well, I was about to say that. And man, I should have. And I've had that many a times in my life. And I think what it is a manifestation of this interference that you're describing. But in that moment, having a practice. So if it happens once in a meeting or in an event or in a competition, that's okay. If you've got another shot, even in that moment, to your point, having a practice saying, well, it just happened. Let me not do that again, And so over time, then you get that practice. So is that starting to sound like, obviously we're not talking about me becoming an elite athlete anytime soon, but in terms of improving performance, does that sound like the right set of tools that people listening in should start to be thinking about as they think about improving their potential as well as reducing the interference?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it speaks to how do I become a great leader of myself as well as how do I become a great leader of others, right? Yeah. And it all starts, the journey does begin with self-awareness. Self-awareness gives you choice. So in your example, in that moment when I was thinking of something, but my gut was telling me, don't speak out, because you're probably wrong and they probably won't like that message and you've not really thought it through. And while all this conversation is going on in your head, the conversation is in the room has moved on and somebody's just said the thing that you were about to say, but your duck stopped you saying in your example, right?
Yeah.
The more aware you are that is happening to you, the more choice you have to react in a different way next time it happens. And that's kind of the basic component of how do I get better at leading myself. And when you start to get more aware of that in yourself, you start to become more aware of it and notice it more in others. And that awareness of others, the leading self is self-awareness. The leading others is awareness of others. And the two are born out of the same skill set. So the more that I become aware of others through my better understanding of what I'm going through, the more choice I have about how I then lead others. How do I support other people to break through in the way that I'm journeying to break through for myself? And so it becomes a dual serving purpose. I'm getting better at leading myself through my greater awareness of myself. My greater awareness of myself makes me more aware of what might be going on for others, and therefore I can become a better leader of others by becoming a better leader of myself. And even though you may look out and only see swans around you, those swans are paddling like hell below the water.
Subscribe to the People Quotient channel where leadership meets action. Powerful conversations with practical insights that you can use right now. See you in the next episode.